Social justice means a fair deal, a square deal, and equal access to resources and recourses to better your situation.
So for me, I think that social justice is addressing and raising awareness for issues of marginalization for groups that are seen as different or marginalized by society.
How we treat each other in society, and how we're supposed to look out for each other in order to create a more equal and fair world that we can all live in.
Oh, I think, it's that empty vessel that people can define for themselves, right? I think mostly it's about realizing a kind of ethical core in terms of how one wants to be treated and wants to treat others.
To me, social justice is the act to evenly distribute opportunities to everyone.
You need health, education, welfare. You need to level the playing field. You need to have no money in politics, full participation in society and decision making.
And what issues we might want to cling to, define, focus on is often just in the eyes of the beholder. But there's that dedication to realizing issues around equity and fairness, however conceived within the social context.
And I think that social justice, like I said, raises the awareness for these groups of people and cultivates ways to respect them and provide opportunities for justice and equality for them.
To get there, of course, you need to have social movements. Social movements force changes. They force elected folks to do what they were elected to do. And meanwhile, then on the other side, you have to build alternatives, because that shows what can be done. So whether it's environmental or a little model of democracy.
So I identify as queer, and when I was a first year in college, I was dealing with the coming out process. And music actually played a huge part in my coming out process, because during the same month when I was processing how to come out of the closet, the song "Same Love" by Macklemore came on, and it was a huge deal. And that song actually broke down a lot of the barriers that I was having in my own life, and it gave me the courage to come out of the closet to my family, to my friends, because this was such a popular song and people were loving it, and society was really appreciating the song and the message that it was giving, and so it really gave me the courage to do what I needed to do with my life. So I have a really strong relationship with music now.
One song came to mind, which is "How Soon Is Now" by the Smiths. I learned about them in my Aquarian Age class, which is American history from the 1950s to the 1970s. And looking at the lyrics, I think this touches social justice perfectly. And a couple of the lyrics go as so. I am human and I need to be loved just like everybody else does. And it goes on to say, when you say it's going to happen now, well, when exactly do you mean? See, I've already waited too long and all my hope is gone. And this goes along with the Vietnam War, I believe. And essentially all the changes that were happening in America, people were getting very frustrated.
Creative means are very important, because social movements have to be fun and also serious and also passionate.
So one of the things I wanted to share with you was the power of the arts as social activism, because as a writer and a person obviously that reads a lot, and a person who listens to lectures and goes to all these these social justice events on campus, I'm moved by the idea that a lot of those people are preaching to a choir. It's a classic phrase, right? And in the sense that we're there because we often already agree with what the person is espousing, or we're already really interested in the information that they're conveying, and it kind of it reinforces and sort of reactivates our activism. Arts activism has an interesting a potential to touch people that may not be on board already, and that's what I find really, really important. So that people may be sitting there, they may happen to be at a dance concert or a music concert or in a studio art exhibit, or they may be walking by sculpture, or they may be at a theater performance. The potential for them to interpret and absorb the message however they want is really, really important. There's an individual a potential for a sense of agency, and they can bring themselves to the artwork however they want to.
So I work on looking at global punk as kind of a cultural form, as a political form. So I look at how people as individuals and as communities, local scenes, use punk music, and punk not just as a music but as a lived ethos in terms of resistance and rebellion in their everyday lives, and how that becomes politically relevant at the individual level, the local level, and then how it works globally in terms of resisting or providing alternatives to global capitalism, some of the injustices that are built into global capitalism, patriarchy, hierarchies of various kinds.
But at our demonstrations, we dance, and we have rappers and poets, we have brass bands and comedic skits, and very, very, very few speeches, and really fun chants. And they may be hard to learn at first, but it pays off because a good time is had by all. I used to do a lot of song parodies that were little snippets, little bits strung together, rapid fire, done by characters. I played a singing CIA agent and a banker, Wild Bill Bailout, and now I'm doing more sing-alongs on the streets. Still parodies. One I did, Imagine, Imagine, John Lennon. I wrote that in Mexico bilingually about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and sang it in Cuba, sang it in the United States. On the street, sing-alongs with striking nurses' aides, people trying to save their neighborhood from development, Walmart workers, the $15 an hour campaign. I have a little W series, I call it, that I rewrite all the time. Will the circle be unbroken? We shall not be moved when the saints go marching in. And then on another tip, well, when some bloated rock star, not myself in this case, but let's say the Stones or Dylan or Leonard Cohen, when they cross a picket line to play in some rogue colonizing state that's being internationally boycotted, like let's just say Israel, well then I can turn their own songs back to them and I can say, what were you thinking when you sang Street Fighting Man and Chimes of Freedom and Democracy is Coming to the USA? I mean, really. So by rewriting these lyrics, you fix them. The songs get old and creaky and rusty, and they need upgrades and updates. You need a version 2.0. So that's what I do, and haven't got too many lawsuits yet.